Welcome to the pod Biomanufacturing and Fermentation Technology. In this episode, we translate microbial science, process engineering, and manufacturing realities into insights that scale.
So if you want to build 1,000,000 cars, right, a massive factory churning out shiny new chassis is just, well, completely useless if you don't have any engines to put inside them.
Exactly, yeah. You just end up with a giant parking lot full of empty shells.
Right. And today we are welcoming you to this custom deep dive into a recent PNAS paper that essentially solves this exact problem, but for biology. It tackles the biggest engine shortage in precision fermentation.
Yeah, because right now the biomanufacturing industry is actually incredibly good at building the chassis, which in this case are the empty protein structures.
Right, the empty proteins.
But actually generating the essential cofactors inside the cell to make those proteins functionally active. Like heme, for example. That has been this massive bottleneck.
Which just keeps the whole system from scaling up, right?
Right, exactly.
So to fix this, the researchers in this paper took a really common microbe, Bacillus subtilis, and they totally rewired its metabolic plumbing.
Yeah, they wanted to produce active hemoproteins,
Yeah.
specifically hemoglobins and myoglobins. But to do that, they had to figure out how to force the cell to mass produce the engine.
The heme cofactor.
Exactly, the heme.
Yeah.
And I mean, a cell naturally produces a little bit of heme just for its own survival, obviously.
Right, but commercial yields are a totally different ballgame.
Oh, completely. You need an entirely different architecture. You can't just flip a switch, you know? You have to fundamentally redesign the cell's internal supply chain.
Right, so they engineered this highly specific four-part strategy to force the factory into overdrive. Push, restrain, pull, and block.
Yes, it's a really elegant system.
Let's carry that factory analogy through, actually, to see how it works. So the first step, push, that's essentially just ordering way more raw steel for the engines, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They increase the precursor supply at the very start of the cellular assembly line,
Okay.
specifically boosting a molecule called 5-aminolevulin.
Okay, but wait, if you just dump a bunch of raw material onto a factory floor, wouldn't you just create a massive jam?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The cell will just naturally start wasting that extra material on random biological side products.
Ah, right, so that's where the second step comes in. You have to restrain it.
Exactly.
But how do you keep the molecules strictly on the main conveyor belt so they don't just, drift off into those competing pathways?
Well, by physically changing how the assembly workers interact. So they tweak two specific enzymes in the pathway, Heme and Heme.
Heme and Heme, okay.
Right. By altering their interactions, they essentially scaffolded them so they hand off intermediate materials directly to one another.
Oh, wow, so they don't even have a chance to drift off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It prevents those materials from leaking into side reactions. They basically built molecular guardrails on the conveyor belt.
That is wild. Okay, so we've pushed more raw material in, and we've restrained it from falling off the belt.
Right.
But if the end of the assembly line is moving too slow, things are still going to jam up, right?
Yeah, which brings us to the pull. They strengthened the correct downstream route, the coproporphyrin-dependent pathway,
Okay, how did they do that?
by overexpressing the enzymes at the final stages. It creates this sort of metabolic vacuum effect.
Ah, so it actively pulls those intermediates toward the final goal of making heme.
Yes, speeding up the entire line.
Okay, then there is the final step, block. Now, if I'm running this factory, the absolute last thing I want is my own employees sneaking the finished engines out the back door.
Right, to use in their own cars.
Right.
And microbes are notoriously bad for doing exactly that.
Wait, really? They steal it?
Oh, yeah. They will totally cannibalize the heme for their own cellular processes.
Wow.
So to stop this, the researchers eliminated an enzyme called protoheme IX farnesyl transferase.
That is quite the mouthful.
It is. But think of it like a leaky pipe draining away the valuable heme we just built. By just deleting it from the genome, they plug the leak.
That makes total sense. And the compounding effect of this whole plumbing overhaul is just wild. By pushing, restraining, pulling, and blocking, they got a 221-fold improvement in heme supply.
Yeah, it's massive. And with the internal plumbing finally supporting the protein production, this engineered chassis yielded record-breaking prokaryotic titers.
We are talking between 0.81 and 1.11 grams per liter, right?
Exactly. Of active soybean, clover, bovine, and porcine hemoproteins, the very proteins that give plant-based meat its real color and aroma.
But wait, I do have a question about their choice of host here, Bacillus subtilis.
Right.
With so many, hyper-predictable lab strains out there, like standard E. coli, Why pick an organism that requires such a massive metabolic overhaul? Doesn't that just make industrial scale-up a total nightmare?
Well, it definitely makes the initial science harder, sure, but it makes the business reality much, much easier.
Really? How so?
Because Bacillus subtilis is a food-grade chassis.
Oh, I see. So it completely bypasses the regulatory nightmare of trying to convince authorities to let you put E. coli byproducts into the human food supply.
Precisely. Using a food-native host gives you a massive commercial advantage. I mean, the scale-up isn't completely frictionless, obviously.
Right, you still have to deal with giant vats.
Yeah, you absolutely still face industrial hurdles, things like purification economics and maintaining fermentation consistency at a 100,000-liter scale.
Which is not easy.
No, it's not. But the regulatory hurdle is often the most fatal one for food tech, and this organism just clears it naturally.
That is so smart. It really proves that the next generation of biomanufacturing relies entirely on mastering this cofactor economy.
Exactly. It's no longer just about expressing empty proteins. You have to build the engines to power them.
And the blueprint is now proven. We actually know how to turn a food-safe microbe into a highly efficient, closed-loop factory.
By mastering its internal metabolic plumbing, yeah.
Which leaves you with a final thought to mull over today. If we can totally rewire a microbe's plumbing to mass-produce the precise heme cofactors that give meat its exact color and chemistry, what other complex, nature-made sensory molecules might soon be brewed in a vat? We've successfully built the engine for meat. What is the next engine going to drive?
You've been listening to Biomanufacturing and Fermentation Technology with Prasad Urnala. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, keep engineering biology into reliable manufacturing.